This is the Uptick Newswire Stock Day podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews, public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world, with your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, I'm bringing you a brand new company. I think they're really going to do something out there. They just acquired a 174-bed Florida facility. We're talking about Ethema Health Corporation. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol GRST. And with us today is the CEO of that company. Going to bring us up to speed is Shawn Leon. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, what is the significance of the addition of the 174-bed facility that I just mentioned earlier? I think it's in West Palm Beach.
Well, it's a very large facility, which is unique in the industry. But the facility itself is 8 different buildings, and there are 4 different buildings that contain treatment beds. So in a way, it's like 4 smaller-sized treatment facilities in one large 8-acre campus. And this is, very important so that we can diversify our services and have different specialties in different buildings. And this is allowing us to do our tailored types of treatment that we do in our company. The second thing that is significant about it is that it's large enough with enough administrative space to carry on the research and develop education for the industry at this facility. So we see it as being a research and education center in addition to a treatment center, which is, again, unique in the industry. And I guess third, that these things give us credibility. And as a treatment provider in the industry today, credibility is incredibly important because there's been so many bad operators that have been in the business and are still in the business in some ways in the last, say, 8 to 10 years. Many of these have closed up recently, but credibility is extremely important with respect to the payers and the insurers that want to send clients to us for treatment. And I guess lastly, the sheer size gives us a fairly large revenue base in that one location. So in addition to all those things, we have the ability to generate significant revenue and income from this size property.
I know you guys have created some world-class programs and techniques. I want to bring my listeners up to speed. You guys operate in the behavioral healthcare space, specifically in the treatment and substance use disorders. There's so many problems out there with opioids. Can you expand that a little bit, and how is business?
Well, business is very good. The issue with opioids and the rampant use of these drugs in society is creating quite a problem, primarily because it's a very difficult addiction to break, and clients or individuals that started on perhaps a prescription medication for pain develop an addiction and follow the path of the illegal, procurement of substances, which has become a very dangerous prospect for many individuals because they are so addicted to these very powerful drugs. They often seek drugs from sources that are less than scrupulous and are exposing themselves to this epidemic of fatal, lethal drugs that are being distributed in the country.
Shawn, as the CEO, where do you see the direction of drug and alcohol treatment going, especially now that you have this huge Florida facility that you can use?
Well, I think, the only, obviously the problem continues to exist and get bigger, and there is really only one effective way to get a handle on an addiction, and that is to stop and have an individual become abstinent from the use of the drugs or the alcohol. The industry, though, has started to look at drug-assisted therapy, where they're looking at replacing, especially with respect to opioids and or opiates, the use of those with a regulated narcotic such as methadone or Suboxone, and using those drugs to basically, it's a harm reduction strategy. As long as we're keeping them from, potential death, it's better to have them on a safer drug than to have them on a more dangerous drug. But ultimately, the industry and the society, I think what's best for people that are addicted is to seek treatment and to find a way to stop the use of these substances.
My guest today is Shawn Leon. He is the CEO of Ethema Health Corporation. They trade on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol GRST. Very undervalued here at 0.075 cents a share. Why is your company uniquely suited to succeed in these treatment problems, and how can you ensure long-term success?
I think number one, as a company, we've been in the business for 7 years, and we've learned a lot about treatment. We started out seeking the latest and best types of therapies in order to deal with treatment, and we've been very successful thus far to date. We did have a number of years of experience in Canada where there has been a policy of harm reduction for a long time, where methadone was a widely distributed drug by the government as an alternative to heroin or for example, oxycodone overuse. And so we ended up learning how to get people then off of methadone. And although there is a place for those drugs, it ultimately is something that we have to get people off of. We have a lot of experience with that, so I think that as number one, our experience is going to ensure that we have a long-term success in this business. But I think the key word I touched on earlier is credibility. We have the credibility, and together with this brand new facility of such significance, that the insurers and payers that are looking for a credible partner to use for the treatment of addiction with the clients that they serve will ensure a long-term source of clients for us, and as long as we continue to do a good job, we'll continue to get that large volume of clients from those payers.
My guest today has been Shawn Leon. He is the CEO of Ethema Health Corporation. I wanted to thank you for coming on the show. In closing, Shawn, is there anything that we didn't get a chance to touch upon that you would like to illustrate to my listeners out there?
Well, I think number one that the thing to consider when looking at a company like this is we're in a business that is got a long runway in front of it. It's not rocket science, so to speak. So I think somebody like ourselves that are good operators in this business will be able to provide consistent long-term income and gains from the revenues that we take in. We're unlikely to have a change in our industry that is anything that will impact our business. And again, it's a simple business that we're really good at. And we think that investors do well by owning shares in our company.
Shawn, I want to thank you for coming on the show today. Hopefully you'll come back in 40 or 50 days. Give us all an update of what's going on with your company. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you so much for listening. Thanks.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by Uptick Newswire, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are those of the guests and those of the respective companies they represent, and do not necessarily reflect those of the staff or management of Uptick Newswire. Uptick Newswire encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional. The guests of this program may have paid for its distribution and are not directly affiliated with Uptick Newswire or this station.